Hello, this is a build video of my HPA Spring Thunder. I'll start with the front end. This is all compatibly a stock Spring Thunder. It's basically got my sling point foresight combination with a pump grip by Adrian and also his muzzle attachment. With the front end out of the way and move on. Move on to the bolt assembly. We can see that it's powered by a Specs BZ. It's all scratched up because of previous tests. In the back end of it is a 1/8 BSP to 6mm push fit. The Specs BZ is super glued into an adapter piece which goes through the front and it's glued to the back of the O-ring, so I can't actually remove it without causing damage. It's screwed in using 2 of the shortest Spring Thunder screws and corresponding nuts through the original plunger tube holes. Screwing it in caused a weak point originally in the old adapters, so I've ended up having to widen the hole and super glue in an aluminium tube that's 9.5mm wide with 0.9mm walls to try and have as big a bore as possible on the inside. It's actually too long, it goes into the Specs BZ, but it's irrelevant because it doesn't really matter anyway at that point because you've already restricted the flow with the size. That's super glued at the front end and the back end of the adapter, which allows it to strengthen the two and hold them together and stop it from breaking as easily. Next up, there's this piece, which you can see here is my aluminium extractor. It's not actually part of the HPA setup, but I just thought I'd show it off. My 3D printed ones kept breaking on me, so I just milled it with actually just a Dremel and a cutting wheel, and then drilled a hole, pinned it, springed it. You can just use a 3D printed one, doesn't really matter at that point. You can see the kind of guide bit is still orange because that's my original colour. It's not actually HPA. And the bolt is clear because my original bolt was actually out of line. I epoxied the nuts in but misaligned them slightly, and the Specs BZ would grind against the top of the blaster on the inside, hence why it's all scratched up. So that's why that's a different colour. We can put this into the Spring Thunder now. It just goes in the normal way. Get the bars in and carefully get them past the shell latches. If I can do this, there we go. That goes into the pump grip. Take one of the long bolts and a nut, and we can whiz that in with a drill. So that's in. That works nicely. We'll follow up with the next 2 sections. Again, stock. This is Adrian's trigger guard. It's not the original G-Duck one, everything else is stock. It's printed in clear because I accidentally broke the orange one because it's quite thin. It can be flimsy if you catch it, which I did. So we can follow that up. Follow up the blaster with this. So we line up the screw holes, the threaded rod holes, put the threaded rods on, and we have to move the ejector out of the way to get it past the Specs BZ. So that's on. Next up is the trigger. This is my own custom trigger and trigger bar. The trigger bar is pinned the same way as the original one, just with the same size pin. Other than that, you can see the difference here. The original trigger, having the holes in line, would cause the trigger to sit further forward, not allowing people with fat fingers, I have fairly fat fingers, to get the trigger finger in the trigger guard. So all I've done is put in this block piece to force it further back, and I've accounted for it with the trigger bar. If you want it to sit further forward, you'd have to remove that lump and have a longer bar, but I didn't want that. So we'll fit that now, which fits the same way. Put that through with a bolt, if I can find it. There we go. And whiz that in. will slacken off a bit on our movement. That's free. Next up is the grip piece. We can see here it's got the guide in it. I've just hot glued that in, that's all that's necessary. Slots into Adrian's vertical grip. That just slides onto the bottom two threaded rods. Slides right up. And with the trigger bar, it's got to be carefully put on with the trigger bar going through the holes, a hole even, in the trigger bar guide. And that is on there. Trigger still moves, which is good. That's what we want. Next up is this piece. It's got another rear sling point in it. I still need to cut that bolt down, but it's not really relevant. There's the hole for the valve. The valve is an M-MJV03. It's just the British threaded variant. So these are 1/8 BSP instead of 1/8 NPT. In the back end, we've got the same as before. We've got a 1/8 BSP to 6mm push fit. And in the top we have a 1/8 BSP to 6mm banjo push fit. And this, all it is it just slots through this hole here. If I can get it in. There's vent holes printed in the side for the vents on the side of the valve. We'll put the washer on. We'll put the nut on. And then we'll give that a quick tighten. That's the valve on there. This piece can now go on the blaster. Top ones first to get the alignment right. Bottom ones. And if we hold it steady, we should be able to see that that now operates the valve. The trigger is only sprung back by the valve. If at this point, building it, the trigger is prematurely operating the valve, you just want to shave a bit off the end of the trigger bar. It's easy enough to do with a good file. That's that. At this point, we want to install a 200mm long bit of 6mm polyurethane tube into the banjo and then into the back of the Specs BZ. That's how that works. And install a 30mm piece of polyurethane tube into the back of the valve like that. Next up, we have this piece. It's the quick disconnect piece. So here is a PCL fitting with a 1/4 BSP thread threaded into a 1/4 elbow, and that in turn is threaded into a 1/4 BSP to 6mm push fit. That just goes on the back end like that. The 30mm piece is perfect to just have them touching but still allow you to get a fingernail in and remove them. Next up is the spacer. It's got the cutout here which allows for the extra space from the valve. In it I've roughly drilled 2 holes and then filed it. That one broke on me, but hey ho. And that allows for a cable tie to hold this steady because that's quite loose. So we can put that on. And then at the same time we want to install cable tie. So all I've done there is put that around, pull that corner in, and then that holds steady. The design of the spacer currently on Thingiverse actually has 2 slits that were an afterthought that I've modelled in to allow for a cable tie. so you won't have to drill and file like I did. I only didn't print the piece because I ran out of filament. What can you do, eh? The last piece is the back end. It again has a little cutout for the rest of the elbow, and that just slots on, followed by the rivet nuts. These holes are wider to allow for the rivet nuts, whereas the rest of the holes are sized for the 6-32 threaded rod. So we just whiz them on. That didn't work. One of the threaded rods has come out the other end. I'm just going to push that back through with some pliers. Hence why the rivet nut wasn't biting. Not normally a problem, but sometimes it is. What can you do? That's we can guarantee, not guarantee, we can't guarantee. We can ensure now that there's smooth operation, which there is. You can see the pipe for that connects the valve to the Specs BZ comes out the back end. I've just allowed a wide open space for that, just to help with the aesthetic. That in the forward position, it's the same shape as a Spring Thunder. Other than that, there's Adrian's shell carrier, which is still compatible with this. It uses the same screw holes. And there you can see the shell side saddle is on there too. So that is how to put together my HPA Spring Thunder. Thanks for watching.